Yo, what's up? This is Knowledge coming to you again from the lab. I'm back. But thought about Michael Jackson. I think y'all have forgot about Michael Jackson. And when I say y'all, I mean the mass public. They don't understand, you know what I mean? We're not going to focus on, right here, we're not about to focus on what Mike did wrong. We're not about to focus on all the innuendo surrounding Mike. We're about to just look at Michael Jackson as a whole, you know, when it comes to an entertainer and what he did for the whole entertainment business. And then we might touch on dibs and dabs of cause and effect, and then break that down just so wickedly that you can't even have a reason to say anything about Michael Jackson without looking at yourself. First off, we got to look at this man. Mike Jackson was the perfect entertainer. Michael Jackson was not the entertainer of the decade. You know what I'm saying? He was the best entertainer of all times. All times. You know what I mean? Nobody sold more records than Michael Jackson. Nobody was packing out stadiums like Michael Jackson's. Now, you can try to throw Elvis in that ball. Elvis is no way comparable to Michael Jackson and the effect that Michael Jackson had on people's lives. You know what I'm saying? Let's take it. Number one, Mike Jackson had a career in entertainment ever since he was a very little boy, a child. So this is all he knew. You know, he had basically his brothers and his sisters, poor, ghetto. You know, if anybody know anything about Gary, Indiana, it's something like a place where I come from. It's like Pontiac, Michigan. It's like a Compton or like a Harlem. It was or a small section of Chicago. And just so happened we on the outskirts of Detroit. But it's a place where it's an industrial type of place, where it has a lot of soul and it has a lot of, let's say, intermingling of different peoples. Well, you know, over time things become worse as times got worse. But that's how Gary, Indiana is, and that's where he came from. And, you know, he came from a place where, you know, it was parents really were on their kids like how they should be. So he had discipline. All he knew was his family and then his music. You know, at a very early age, he made it to the big time as an early age, you know, as a boy. So his whole life from the time that he was 5, 6, 7, and 8 been just spent on singing, period, and wanting to sing and entertaining up to the day he died, working on something. You know what I mean? So how he came in is really how he left. You know, and think about it. If you put your life in the limelight like this guy has for almost 50 years, wouldn't you be a little bit, you know, weary of people? Got to think, what type of people have this guy, you know, encountered during his whole tenure? I mean, a lot of us want to be in the entertainment business. We want to be models and celebrities, and all that's on TV right now is real TV. But imagine yourself taking 50 years of that. Could you really do it and not have a screw loose? You cannot do 10 years of it and be tripping. You know, so for Mike to really hold on and hold up as long as he did and help so many people, broke so many barriers for even rappers. You know, if it wasn't for Michael Jackson, rap wouldn't be even on MTV. It wouldn't have been on MTV, and it wouldn't have crossed over, and it wouldn't have been where it is to be acceptable. You know, and now it's just taking over everything. And you can't have a commercial nowadays without rap music. But who was the person that broke it down on a wide scale? Yeah, James Brown, which was one of his icons, broke it down. You know, but James Brown really broke it down, but the people wasn't ready for James Brown. James Brown was too, you know, he was coming out, I'm black and I'm proud. So he broke down, but he wasn't the one that was going to be able to take it to the next level. Mike came and crushed it. He exploded it for, you know what I'm saying? You can say what you want to say about Mike. He trying to be white, whatever, but by him being who he was, he broke down the doors for your Ushers, for your LL Cool J's to come out, your Neos and your Wu-Tang Clans, your Snoop Dogg's, to be played on mainstream TV, to get these big distribution and record deals. Mike did that, and nobody really wants to really peep it out. His voice was unique and one of a kind. His style was unique and one of a kind. A complete original. A complete, I can't even explain the word, a complete phenomenon. You know, it's something that only happens once in a lifetime, you know, or once in a Earth's age. You know, I mean, there's a lot of entertainers now that are carbon copies of other people. You cannot say that about Michael Jackson. You know, what he did do is he took a little bit from here. He probably took a little bit from James Brown, a little bit from Fred Astaire, a little bit from Billie Holiday. You know what I'm saying? As time came along, he taken a little bit from Marvin Gaye and Duke Ellington, and he meshed them. And he became a cosmopolitan of all these people, all the greatest of the great into one. And that takes tremendous concentration when you are an artist of any sort, or you're doing things of any sort, a regular 9-to-5 job. Just think about it. You know, you got to draw from each person. And he seemed like he was a master at that. It takes a lot of concentration and willpower to be able to be able to take the worst and discard or take the best and discard the worst. You know, so but thinking after over 20 to 30, 40 years of this, you know, you begin not only taking up the best, but then you start picking up the worst too. And you know, that's a lot of the reasons why a lot of people discard him, forgot him. It lets you know, and it lets me know, that the world moves on without you. It doesn't matter who you are. You know, Jesus came. Jesus did what he had to do in a 33-year time slot. And he died. But he resurrected. But people still forgot about him. You know, that's proof in the pudding. So it don't make a difference it's like in this body, it doesn't make a difference who you are. You know, so we can't think too much of ahead of ourselves thinking that we something special. No matter how much talent, how much talent we got, how smart we think we are, how much money we think we have, we're never, you know what I'm saying? Not one person stops the world from, you know what I mean, going and moving on. You know, so I mean, you got to think while you're here, take a page out of Mike Jackson's book. You know, yeah, he had a lot of things that he did that wasn't, you know, I guess, acceptable, you know, latter parts of his career and things like that. But put yourself in that position. You probably would have went crazy a long time ago. You probably would have slit your wrist way before then. You know, so we got to think about what he's done for the culture overall. He entertained us. This is a person that I can say an entertainer, you want to say keeping it real. You know what I mean? If you want to keep it real, he lived really for us to entertain us. He lived to make great music. He lived to make a difference, to try to make a difference with all his riches, trying to make differences as much as he could. And as you see, you know what I mean, when you start to try to want to do good, or you have the intentions to do good, you're going to have all types of obstacles waiting for you. You know, so it's no matter, the enemy is still going to try to tear you down. Your money can't do it. Your education can't do it. Your job can't do it. Your friends won't do it. You know, and now we got to really look at a situation, the man in the mirror. The man in the mirror is a perfect analogy. When he sang that song, y'all should go back and listen to it. You know, it starts with the man in the mirror. So only you can really make up in your mind, approaching the situation of this thing called life that we have. Approaching this situation as everything really depends on what you ultimately do. And that's really what the song is saying. Everything depends on ultimately you. In your world, you know, everything else revolves around you. And it's like, this is some real science for you, but I know you haven't been taught this, and I know you don't know that people think that the world revolves around the sun. That's absolutely not true. You know what I mean? Scientific proof that that is not true, and biblical proof that that's not true, because the Bible clearly states it. You know, and I'm going to give y'all the verse in chapter 2 for y'all to look that up. But that all depends on if you choose to believe the Bible, you know. But Mike, on the hand of, you know, trying to give us songs that we still listen to today, and then he bring us back to remembrance of him. But even with his interviews, and when you think about the lives that he's have touched and the lives that he has opened so many doors for, you know, you wouldn't, the things that you like today, as far as entertainment and fashion, you probably wouldn't like, or you wouldn't even know about no more if it wasn't for Michael Jackson. You probably wouldn't even never seen him. Like everybody into the skinny phase, as far as the jeans, Mike was doing it. The funky colors and the crazy shirts, who was doing that? Mike. You know what I mean? You know, Mike actually almost kind of gave it a cool thing to, you know, to be different. You know, where everybody really wants to be the same. I ain't saying to the extreme different, but be different how you want to be. You know, and it's just an appreciation to Michael Jackson, because I don't think nobody just done it. It's been a couple years, and I think we shouldn't forget how far, you know, that certain people go for the rest of us. And it's a time to say, you know, thank you. You know, you don't have to agree with a person's whole life. You don't, because you won't agree with your spouse's whole life. You know what I mean? Your brother's whole life and your mother's. You ain't agree with nobody's full life. But what matters is that you come to the understanding, if that person is actually giving themselves to you 100% and you know it, you ain't got to agree with their whole life. You got to show the appreciation and the love. And then you got to do something. You know what I'm saying? You got to give something. You know what I mean? You got to give something. You got to give something to someone else. You know what I mean? Because that's how it's going to continue to rub off and mature and cultivate. See, if nobody tells you nothing, then you will never know nothing. And then you can't tell somebody else, and then everybody just sitting there holding their own. And so that's the lesson that I learned from Michael Jackson. You know, do what you do from your heart. Do what you do for the right reason. He's the perfect example for everybody that wants to blow up in the industry. You know, but really think about, can you really handle that? Think about, can you really, really stomach this? You know what I mean? I don't know many that can. And on the level of success that you may want to be the greatest anything. But can you really, you know, hold those pillars up and not really forget what you're doing and what you're living for? Can you really do it? So many temptations that come along with everyday life. Single day life for an average human being has so much temptation. Imagine yourself at that peak. Could you handle it? Many have tried and they ain't doing too well. I mean, the cameras and the TV make you think they're doing well because you see them on the red carpet, but that don't mean nothing. You know, you see this person on TV, on ABC, NBC, CBS, you know what I'm saying, on these little award shows, but these people have everyday lives that they have to really battle what this fame has done to them. So for Michael Jackson, all I can really say is, hands down, my best entertainer, hands down, my best singer, hands down, hands down, the first entertainer that I ever wanted to be like. You know, hands down, you know, when I say be like, I mean just have that charisma, that attention grabber, you know. To Michael Jackson, you know, family, and if they watching, if they ever watch somebody like Tito or Randy or something, I don't know. But just know your brother was, you know what I mean, the greatest of all time. Nobody can ever take that away from him. And from the hardest individual from the street to the corporate room. And presidents and kings and princes loved him, loved this guy. And they still do. You know, one love, Mike Jackson. You know, who's bad? My man Mike. Keep God first, you second, family third. In that order, you will never lose, because what? The last should always be first. It was written. Peace.